continue this talk about alchemical love. And I can see that he's in focus instead of me. Maybe that's the way it should be. Oh, he runs away. So let's think about this. Alchemical potency. Remember, alchemy has the ability, it is the process of transmutation of previous elements, and it could be more than two. Like there's an alchemical process that happens when you make chocolate that changes the cacao and the other ingredients. It actually makes crystals, crystalline molecules. I used to make raw chocolate. So that's a form of alchemy where you're taking these previous ingredients and combining them a certain way, and you're applying certain heating and cooling, which is called tempering in the chocolate making industry. And in the tarot, the tempering is the temperance card, which is the sort of moderating and balancing and, ebbing and flowing between, like in chocolate, hot and cold, but in our alchemical experiences, the hot and cold of like the good feeling or the bad feeling, right? The intensity or the coldness sometimes, and the ingredients that it takes to alchemize personalities or psychological traits, which is really what's happening in an alchemical relationship. And we're not just doing it for ourselves, we're actually doing it for humanity. If you are an aware person doing shadow work or you're doing personal work on yourself, that act of witnessing yourself and making a conscious choice sends like a message into the collective grid, sends a rewiring, if you will, just like I feel like that's what Jesus was doing here, bringing a new consciousness, which was changing the grid so that humans could access different feelings, different emotions, and lead them on their way toward that unconditional, Christ-like self. So in an alchemical relationship, in an evolved relationship, the way I see it is, okay, old paradigm says you get this feeling that you don't like, and it's telling you you should run away or you should stop having that feeling because it's bad and you don't like it. And anything you don't like, you shouldn't try to experience. Okay, that's the very dualistic, very pendulum swinging, because now you're swinging between what you like and you don't like. And it's like you have to go both ways, law of cause and effect. You go completely to one side, you must balance it this way. So you're going to be in this constant up and down, very bipolar experience of love and even just living. Okay, where the alchemical and the way that I've studied and learned, and what makes a lot of sense to me and is also represented in the yogic philosophy and in this balancing of the energies in the spine in order to enlighten one's being, it's like you're balancing opposite polarities. You're getting good with the yin and the yang. You're getting like understanding the purpose of both sides of the equation in the catalyzing of awareness. So it's like, you might teach your kids, it comes with the good and the bad, honey. Like life's not all this, it's going to have this too. And you got to learn to cope with it the best or whatever. It's along these lines, right? But so I feel like instead of when you feel a feeling you don't like, trying to push it away or running away, instead, this is a moment of potentiality. This is a moment of alchemical change. And if we can bring our awareness to it, say we're feeling like the video I just did a little short clip on Instagram, say you're feeling rejection. And that feeling of rejection can be really biting, like, oh, like I'm not wanted, right? Like I don't want you. Even if it's in your own head, even if you're the one creating that they're pushing you away and they're really just going through their own stuff and it doesn't really have anything to do with you. Even in that scenario, the feeling we feel when we describe it as rejection is actually just a physical sensation that we associate with these ideas of being rejected. But so if you just take the pressure and then maybe like feeling in the body and it's like tight and it's constricted. And I like to think that it contains memory. It's like a muscle memory. And that's what hurts. That's what PTSD or trauma is. It's like a muscle nervous system memory that hurts to revisit. So when it's hurting, like that's the exact moment to apply the alchemy, which is love and acceptance, right? And love and acceptance can look like just a deep breath in, like, okay, I'm holding that, I'm being with that, like the part of my consciousness that can witness what's going on in my body and the rest of me and my memory, that part of me is going to hold space for this. And we can do this in partnership and in union. We can be like, oh, that person is really feeling it right now. I'm going to hold space with them. And that's kind of what I mean by like we're offering it collectively as a healing when we do that, because in that moment, we're like, I'm interrupting a societal program right now that says rejection equals like run the other way, feel hurt, say bad things, like have an emotional spiral, whatever. So instead of following that societal arc, if you will, we interrupt it by saying, I feel you. I feel that feeling in me. I understand it. It's speaking somewhere to unworthiness, and I'm going to just love that part of me. And I might even cry about that part of me. Like I was feeling into some of those feelings tonight about maybe something small. But then I saw that my child was also feeling a rejection feeling, and he was really crying hard. And I'm like, wow, he's doing what I can't do right now. I can't seem to let go into this because it doesn't feel like that much of a punch. It's just like a little thing, probably. And it's probably my own, but we can do this even in the big things. And actually, the crying can help to catalyze the alchemy. It can open the heart where we couldn't open the heart before. It can hold all those things only because maybe we can't help it. If we can't help it and we just sob, and our heart just will open with the sobbing, actually. And if you notice that when you're done crying, there is like a clarity in the heart, there is a relief because that alchemy has occurred, that there is an acceptance that comes with allowing the cry. And so the alchemy is, I am combining my love and my presence, my acceptance, to in equal force to whatever this difficult feeling is, whatever this sensation is that's very much difficult, that I don't want. And I'm combining it because I know it must be purposeful somehow. I know that I must have come here for, an equation of yin and yang, of, this musical composition that is my life. And so I'm going to be with that, right? I'm going to be with that, just like I know in working out, I'm going to have some pain that leads to some rewards. The muscles that hurt and tear are going to make me stronger, right? Or the detoxing that doesn't feel so good is going to make me feel better inside. Or the sleep that maybe I'm not doing something else is going to help, bring me into a clearer space. And all this stuff is part of the alchemy, right? It's all part of the equation of surrendering into this love. Okay, so then to return to this idea of alchemical potency and tempering, right? We recognize that the hot and cold, the discomfort and the comfort are part of the heating and cooling that is, it's like forging a new psychology. So it is in our response to this. How well can we bring ourselves back to center? How well can we feel strong? How is our inner strength in this process of, tempering our personality, tempering our being to bring us into a new level of expression, a higher level. The Temperance card in Tarot is like, you already went through like the Tower and the death, and now Temperance is like the angel, right? That is helping you find new ground and doing it slowly, but it's like tempering is back and forth, a balancing act. A little bit of the new, but taking it nice and slow, learning how to bring in the parts of the old that are going to work, and then the parts of the new that are necessary to replace, right? So alchemical love takes into account that the elements are all necessary. So it's really in just how do I respond best to the situation that is still love? How do I respond best to when my partner is showing up in a way that, I was thinking it was going to be this way, but it's this way, like, okay, I step back and I apply awareness, like, okay, how do I need to be for that person to love them this way? And I responded this way. So how do I need to be for myself to love myself in this way? Because again, being authentic allows for all these expressions, right? And as a dynamic, multidimensional being, which is what I feel like we're evolving into, or we're like spiritually maturing to remember that we already are, multidimensional in that we can express in a variety of forms and ways, because our God nature contains the full yin and yang, like the full expression of possibilities that we kind of wanted to embody in form, is my perspective of this whole game. So um, when I look at the old paradigm of relationships, I'm like, that is not really doing this. The old paradigm of relationship has a very defined, if you don't act this way, then the relationship's done, or the relationship is only meant to act this way. It's a very rigid structure. And I mean, that's been going on a while, but also not. Like, and I think maybe it's kind of related to the astrological progression, and that we've been in a very Capricornian sort of like expression for a long time. Pluto and Capricorn was the last like 16, 17 years. But of course, this idea of, relationship being rigid probably went on before that. But then again, we were in Sagittarian Pluto before that. And that was kind of like your hippie love, like sort of freedom loving place. And even, like some of the deviance that came with Pluto and Scorpio before then. So now we're in Pluto and Aquarius, this progression of the evolution of humankind, because Pluto represents how we transform, how we evolve. So Pluto in Aquarius, the evolving of humans, the interrelating of humans, because Aquarius is ruling our human kind, how we relate. And it is about progression. It is about advancements, right? And innovation. So we're innovating. And, even though alchemy, you could say the Sagittarius nature is the alchemist, but it is being applied with this Aquarian mind, this like sort of chemist in the lab sort of idea that's like, okay, how do we take this idea that Sagittarius got about alchemy, and where Capricorn brought it home and sort of like installed it, if you will. Now humankind is getting this expression and like learning to work with the alchemy, right? So in our relationships, I think it's hot right now to recognize that in order to evolve our relationship, we've got to learn to love all the parts and be the most resilient that we've ever needed to be in order to experience the level of relationship that is possible, and that actually wasn't even really possible before, because so many have worked through different things. It's almost like there's this pot in the collective that we're drawing from too, and we're like, yeah, all those mistakes have been made, let's try something new. And so those of us who are on that journey right now get to do our best, have the opportunity at hand to show up in relationship in new ways. And that mostly comes back to like a self-reflection, take responsibility for how we show up and how we process how we showed up. Because sometimes we show up and we're like, oh, I'm not very proud I showed up that way. But that's also okay, because we're learning to love all the parts, right? And that's also part of this forgiveness that we need to have for each other while we're learning to express this dynamic human that we are becoming and truly are, this multidimensional spiritual human that will soon become our superpowers one day when we learn to really master these things. But we're kind of still growing into this. So anyway, I just thought it was worth the conversation. So thanks for coming back, and I hope to see you again soon. I'd love to hear your comments. One last thing. I posted the other day about loving all the parts of someone if they're having a bad time or they did something mean. And I had someone give a comment that said that would be nice, but and he specifically pointed out that women aren't capable of such and that they always want things to be a certain way. And in response to that, like, this is a nice idea to love a whole person, coming from experience first. um, I know that I did used to be more the way that he was speaking, and I do see it prevalent where, and this is men and women, not just women, by the way, we have expectations, and this is the old paradigm of relationship, and that's why I'm having these talks. I'm not talking about the way things have been. I'm talking about the potential of how things could be. And for me, I've done a lot of inner work to get to the place where I feel like it's possible now for me to love a whole person, because I've done a lot of work on loving the parts of myself that kept me from that before. And in relationship currently, as I am, I feel like I'm getting to reach into the places that I wasn't able to reach on my own, and which is great, because that's the only way that we evolve our capacity to love, is find other points of interest that are like, oof, I wasn't knowing that that was still a sore spot. Let me love that. Let me love that. Let me love that about another human, about myself interacting with another human. And I'm not always perfect at it, but it's a practice, and it's a beautiful practice to get to love a whole other person. And I've been in moments where I'm like, I get to love all these parts, and I've never experienced myself in a place where I felt like I could fully do that before, because of self-judgment or hatred or whatever I had before I embodied to this degree. But now I feel like this enthusiasm and this deep, deep honor to even have had the idea presented to me, and then to be able to be this far into my heart where I feel like I can apply this alchemy successfully, and maybe heal some of my past, and maybe heal some of what's in the collective pain. And that's not out of a wish to fix more than it is um, like really feeling the ability to stand as a portal of love and open myself wide and let it flush through me, out all my impurities into the ones before me who think that they have them, or parts of consciousness who've thought that people like them had them, like, however that translates, like a fire hose of love that I get to practice keep letting coming through me. And that is deeply fulfilling to me. To me, that is the greatest form of love I can experience, is allowing that through me. So I offer any of this to you that resonates. Leave the rest behind. I hope to see you again here and on my Instagram at Bliss in the House. And sometimes over at Midnight Floor, I do live sales on Instagram. So uh, thank you so much. I love you, and have a beautiful day, and namaste. If you do want to reach out for a private session, you need help walking through some of this stuff, please do reach out. And some of it is where our astrology is bumping into right now, so that can be helpful to look at too. All right, much love.